Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. It's time to talk about another Valentine slasher. I already did My Bloody Valentine from 1981 in the remake, and now this year we're going to discuss Valentine from 2001, directed by Jimmy Blanks, who did Urban Legend. Now, the plot for this movie is very simple. On IMDb, it just says five women are stalked by an unknown assailant while preparing for Valentine's Day. There you go. There's your setup. There's your story. Let's get to it. So, Valentine. Before I go into my likes and dislikes, this was my third viewing, or no, actually, this was my second viewing. I have seen the commentary though, so I guess three times. And I got the Shout Factory Blu-ray. Has this pretty cool slip cover, and it's got all kinds of bonus features on it. So if you like this movie, I recommend picking it up because the transfer is pretty good, and that poster kicks ass. The custom one. So, yeah. What do I like about Valentine? I like the mask. I like that a Cupid mask goes with the theme of the movie being Valentine's Day and how he uses a crossbow, or not a crossbow, like a bow and arrow at one point. And there's a couple of memorable kills in the movie. The kills aren't that bad. They're not really all that gory, but I think these kills are still good. There's a decent body count, and a couple of them do stand out. There's a couple of really good slasher sequences, like one in a morgue with all these bodies, and he's just stabbing the bags. Like, that's one of the best scenes in the movie, and it happens pretty early on. And then there's another scene in a room that has a hot tub. That's a pretty cool scene. So it has good moments in it for sure. It's not all great, but there's some highlights. And I like that the killer in this movie hands out these custom made Valentine's cards to his victims before he kills them. It's kind of similar to My Bloody Valentine 1981, where he had the one card for the laundromat girl that said roses are red, violets are blue, one is dead, so are you. But in this one, it's like one of those things where you pull something and there's like an image that pops up and it says something disturbing. So I like these cool, like, cards that he was handing out to his victims. This has a really beautiful cast of actresses that all do pretty good. You got Marley Shelton from Scream 4 in this, and you got Katherine Heigl, Bride of Chucky, and you got Denise Richards, who is absolutely beautiful. And then there's another girl, I don't know her name, but she was in Urban Legends 2, and she looks like that girl in Final Destination, but she's not the same chick. So there's lots of horror actresses in this movie, and they all look absolutely beautiful, and there's no really bad performances in the movie. And I kind of do appreciate that this movie kind of took a risk with its ending being kind of unconventional for a slasher. This doesn't have a conventional slasher movie ending where you get that final chase and then the mask gets pulled off and then they go into their speech. This doesn't have any of that. There's no real motive speech at the end. There's no reveal of the actual killer like that. It's not like Scream in that way, and I like that. What I don't like about this movie is the humor. I just think there's too much of it just laced throughout, like every scene, like multiple scenes back to back. It's just constant, desperate attempts at being funny, and a lot of it for me just didn't land. It almost feels at times like this movie forgets that it's a slasher and it's trying to be like a teen comedy. And while I do like a couple of these kills, they're still pretty censored. There's no real gore. There's no good money shots. There's a good arrow kill and an electrocution kill. Like, I like the setup of that scene, but there's still a couple of kills in here where you can tell they took out some frames and the money shot was removed because of the MPAA, unfortunately. But man, if they insert some gore in here, it would definitely boost it up a point. Another thing that would boost this movie up a point is if they decided to show some of these beautiful ladies they hired naked. There's all kinds of beautiful ladies in this movie, and we don't see a single pair of breasts. And one thing that just really kind of irritated me on this watch, I didn't notice it last time, but fuck, every guy in this movie is either a dork or a scumbag. Every guy in this movie is either just cringy and just embarrassing themselves and they're just so dumb and dorky, or they're the opposite. They're constantly getting laid, but they're screwing women over and trying to take all their money, or trying to like sexually assault women. Like, there's no like guy in the middle. There's no average dude in this film. And to me, I thought the killer was predictable. They try to throw in a couple of red herrings, but they're just so not believable. You're like, it's not going to be that person. It's definitely not going to be that person. And then the one person you suspect from beginning to end ends up being the killer. And you're like, yep, I called it. So very predictable. Jump scares. They use the stinger noises and just people popping up and scaring others on accident. That type of shit. It's very of the times. This movie does feel like a horror movie in the 90s and early 2000s. It kind of feels like Scream at times. The whole third act takes place at a party, kind of like Stu Macher's house, So it does feel like Scream a bit, but it doesn't have that meta Scream humor in it. But it definitely has some Scream vibes to it. And also on this watch, I just thought that the movie was kind of slow, or maybe I wasn't into it. So maybe it's not the pacing. I just wasn't into the first 30 minutes. It was just constant bad joke after bad joke. There wasn't a lot of slasher moments in a long period of time there. It mainly saves it for the second half of the movie, but in the first half you just get this cool sequence with Katherine Heigl, and then there's like a long moment of nothing, and it's just all this comedy. So there needed to be one or two more death scenes thrown into like the first act, maybe, or it just felt a little slow to me. I guess I just wasn't really into it because of the humor. So final thoughts, I think this is an okay slasher. It's not the worst thing ever. It just unfortunately tries too hard to be like a teen comedy and forgets that it's a slasher. Doesn't have a whole lot of suspense going on. It doesn't really deliver on the goods, you know, gore, nudity. It doesn't have that stuff, but it's still semi enjoyable. So I'm not gonna rate it too low. So when it comes to Valentine, I give this 2.5 out of 5 stars. All right, spoiler discussion. So in the opening, we get Denise Richards as a 13-year-old. They're in 6th grade. All these girls are picking on the killer, Jeremy. And she says, Denise Richards, her character says, I'd rather be boiled alive. And then she ends up dying in a hot tub 13 years later. So not quite the same, but close. So she didn't get boiled alive, but she did die in a hot tub. There is a sauna room, so she could have been cooked in there. I thought that's what was going to happen in that scene, that he was going to like lock that girl in there, like dial it up to like 200 degrees or some crazy shit. But no. And so this kid gets picked on by these bullies. Jeremy, he's the nerd. He gets beat up, and they think that he sexually assaulted this chubby girl, and his nose starts bleeding, and then that is something that keeps happening throughout the movie. The killer's nose is constantly bleeding through the mask, so we know it's the same kid from the opening. So they tell you who the killer is right out of the gate, but the twist is that the killer in the movie, when we see him without the mask, he has a different name. He changed his name, and I guess he got plastic surgery because they don't even recognize this guy. Like, he changes his name from Jeremy to Adam, and they don't recognize him 13 years later. If I saw somebody from my school, this is like what, about 7, 8 years after they graduated, he went away right away. So after this incident, he was immediately sent to like an institution for getting his ass kicked. Like, really? So that's all it took for him to lose his mind, getting bullied? Like, I don't know. It just felt kind of forced, this whole situation. And then, but yeah, so they don't recognize him modern day because he got plastic surgery, I guess, and it's been 13 years later. But I feel like they would recognize him still. Like, my face doesn't look very different from when I was in middle school. So, but whatever. I still got my baby face. And so then we get Katherine Heigl. She's on like a blind date. Guy has Spanish on his teeth. He's trying to be funny, stupid. And then she goes to her doctor's school and she's practicing on a dead body, but she's not wearing like a proper outfit. She doesn't have like the lab coat and the mask on her face, a shield. She's just wearing some like tank top, carving bodies up. Like, wouldn't you be wearing something like, I don't know. But whatever, I'm not going to nitpick too much, but she gets out of the room, she comes back in, and for some reason the killer decided to switch places with the dead body. He puts the dead body in the closet and then hides on the table. Like, that was risky. What if she immediately like went into it and just started stabbing the killer's stomach? That would have been funny. Movie over, he's dead. But yeah, she backs up, body falls out of the closet. It's like very much like a Halloween or a Friday 13th movie. Body's just falling on cue. And then we get this cool scene where he's stabbing all the bodies in that one room, and then he gets to the last bag, and it's her. He unzips it, goes to slit her throat, but then it cuts away. We don't really see shit there, so that was just a bad payoff. Like, there's no good payoff there. It was a cool scene, but man, fuck, that was not a good payoff. Um, so it also in the beginning, it felt like a nod to Carrie when they were dumping that red punch bowl on his head. Kind of shot in slow mo too. It just felt like the pig's blood scene. So a little nod to Carrie there. And so then we get this whole turbo dating scene. Again, just more dorky guys and scumbags being thrown in here. No one's normal in this fucking movie. Not at least the males. They're not normal. They're either dorky, scumbags, or they're murderers. So, yeah, but I like how Paige takes this girl there to meet new people, and then when she's starting to like connect with this guy, maybe she jumps in and takes that guy from her. Like, I'll take him. So what a bitch. So then we get this whole sequence where the water runs out. Marley, she dunks her head in the toilet to rinse out the shampoo, and then someone broke into her house, the door's open, she goes out, and she sees in the elevator the killer's mask. And the elevator just keeps shutting on the mask. So the killer was there. Why? Why did this scene happen? Why was the killer there, leaving his mask? What was the purpose? Is there a reason? Like, why he didn't just kill her? Like it's his girlfriend, so I guess, yeah, he wouldn't want to kill her. He wants to keep her alive at the end. So why this whole sequence? It doesn't make sense on rewatch, but whatever. So then he gives the one girl chocolate candies, and there's maggots inside, so somehow he pulled that off. Like, how do you put maggots inside candies? Like, did he like inject them in there? Something like, how do you do that? I don't know. Maybe they're just really old chocolate candies that he found that already had maggots in them. I don't know, but that was kind of a gross scene. And then so we get this whole like video art gallery scene, and this is where the nudity actually is in the movie. If you look in the background, there's footage of girls with no tops, so there's some nudity in here, but not from the main characters. And this girl just somehow gets lost, and it seems like at first the killer is somehow controlling the lights in the videos, but how would Adam have access to that? Like, how would he do that? Whatever. But he somehow snuck through this party with the mask on, and no one saw this creepy guy in the mask sneak into this party, and then he shoots her with the arrow 3 times. She falls in a dumpster, and no one knows that she's dead throughout the rest of the movie because they think she left to California. We find out that the killer's parents died in a fire 2 years prior. So was that the reason why he's killing now? Like, why now? That's another question I had. Was like, why now? Aren't there not Halloween, Valentine parties every year? So it's not like in My Bloody Valentine where it was the Valentine's party that triggered the killer and he wanted to put a stop to the party. In this one, it's like he just chose to randomly start killing them 13 years later. Why 13 years? Why now? Why 2 years after your parents die? Did he kill his parents or did they die in an accident like the detective says? Speaking of the detective, he kicks the one girl out and he's talking to Paige and starts putting his hand on her thigh. He's like, what are we going to do about this sexual tension between us? Like, there's something going on here. Don't you feel it? We should be together. Like, this guy's a fucking douchebag. And I'm so glad he gets his head chopped off. But we don't see it happen on camera, unfortunately. But she finds this severed head in like that little pond later on. And the fake head looks pretty fake, but it's only on screen for like half a second. But yeah, that guy's a douchebag. Another douchebag in the movie is Scary Gary. One of her neighbors down the hall is going into her room, stealing her clothing, putting on her clothes, and then the killer comes in and kills him. So it's like, did the killer know this stuff was happening? Did he go in there wanting to kill his girlfriend? Again, it doesn't make sense. Like, he's not trying to kill his girlfriend, Adam, like, so he knew something was happening in there. It's like, I for some reason feel like there's someone in my girlfriend's apartment, so I'm going to put my mask on, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to kill him with a clothing iron. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, whatever. But I like that this douchebag got killed. I don't know why the killer was there, but I'm glad he was to fucking put it into this character's existence. So then we get introduced to this two-pump chump named Campbell. Is that a nod to Bruce Campbell? But this guy is another douchebag character who is dating women to take their money and then go on to the next lady. And he foreshadows his death. He says something like getting stabbed in the back or whatever, and then he gets axed in the back. Then this other guy from the turbo dating shows up, takes Paige up to a bedroom, says, I got a surprise, and then just pulls down his pants, and then she ties him to the bed, and he's like, I want you to wax it. I guess saying to blow it, that's what he meant. Suck my dick, but he said wax it so that this joke would work. She grabs the candle that's lit, has all this hot candle wax, and pours it all over his dick and balls, which I'm sure would be very damaging and hurt like a motherfucker. And so, yeah, that was very evil of her to do. But then we never see this character again. Did he die? Did the killer go in there? Like, that should have been a death scene. There you go. Up the body count. He should have went in there, poured all the candles. There was like 100 candles in that room for some reason. But yeah, like, we never see him again. Did he die? Who let him go? Did someone find him and loosen him up and get him out of there? Like, what happened? And I love how when the power goes out, everyone scatters like cockroaches. Like, this party ends instantly. When the power goes out, everyone leaves. Just so it can, all just dwindle down to like 2-3 people in the final act. And then this one chick catches the killer in the act, like dragging a dead body, the maid he killed, and then she whacks him in the head with a pool stick. But we don't see that damage on Adam's face later on, I don't think. I feel like that would fuck up your face. If you actually broke a pool stick over someone's face, that would leave a mark for sure. But I don't know, maybe there was a mark on Adam's face, but I didn't see one. But anyways, he takes this girl and he throws her through the shower. The glass breaks and there's these 2 large pieces of glass sticking up, and her head gets slammed down on top of it. Very mean-spirited, very cool kill, but again, not all that gory. We don't actually see a lot happen there. We don't see like it go through and out the other side or anything. And why would no one be down there? Like, there's a pool table, there's like a bar or something. Like, there's all kinds of shit to explore down there. There's a sauna room, there's a hot tub, but everyone's just gathered together upstairs on the one floor. Like, when you see the outside of this house, there's like 5 layers to it. It's just like floor, floor, floor. Like, there's so much to see. Like, everyone would be everywhere. And there's like 100 people at this party, but they're all just bunched together, like very claustrophobic. Like, there's no space. Like, everyone would be going downstairs, upstairs. Like, there's nothing keeping them from going downstairs and playing pool. So I feel like realistically there would be people down there. Then we get the hot tub scene where Paige is electrocuted. He's locked her in there, and he's like drilling through and nicks her arm, and she starts bleeding, and then he just throws it in there and electrocutes her. And that's what makes the power go off at the place, and everyone just leaves right away. And Dorothy, the chubby girl, the one responsible for the killer losing his mind in the open, she predicts the killer. She's like, well, who's to say it isn't your boyfriend, Adam? What if he got plastic surgery and changed his face, changed his name? She's right on the money. She got it. But then the killer makes her get pinned for everything. So so that makes sense. Yeah, like, she lied in the opening, got him busted, arrested and in trouble for, sexually assaulting her. But now he, 13 years later, he's putting the mask on her, Dorothy, and now she's going to get arrested for these murders. Well, not arrested, she's dead, but, she's going to get pinned for this. So it's like payback in a way. So I just put that together. But yeah, like, he put the mask on her, he threw her down the stairs, and then shot her a bunch before she could say anything. Like, it's not me. So then when he's hugging his girlfriend at the end, his nose starts bleeding on her face, showing the audience that he's the killer. Very much like Alone in the Dark. I'm not sure if that was purposely ripping off Alone in the Dark, but that's how that reveal was handled in Alone in the Dark. The guy's nose starts bleeding on the girl's face. It's like the same exact scene. And it's like, oh shit, he's one of the bad guys. So they took that right out of that movie. And so, yeah, and then we hear a scream. When it cuts to black, we hear a scream. So It's like, did he kill his girlfriend? Is that Marley screaming at the end and she's dead? I don't know. But yep, that's the end of the movie. What are your thoughts on Valentine? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.